that niche like makes you immediately stand out because you specialize in something. Now, if I'm the consuming person and I find you, I go, that's me.
Yeah.
But if I'm just like, oh, I'm a homeschool, coach, consultant, I help families who want to homeschool. Well, it doesn't hook me.
Over 1,700 new millionaires are created every single day in the US alone, and more than double that across the globe. They're people from all walks of life, most of them people just like you and I. So the big question is this: how are so many people who didn't inherit money or have any special advantages overcoming the odds and becoming millionaires? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jeff Lerner, and welcome to Millionaire Secrets. Welcome to another episode of Millionaire Secrets. Jeff Lerner, always excited to be here with you. And today we have a doozy for you. We are joined by David Ledgerwood. He is the co-founder and managing partner of Ad10, which basically provides outsource, and we'll let him expound on what they provide. But as I understand it, provides outsource managed sales solution for B2B tech companies that are trying to add 10 to their revenue. Which I just, before we even get into it, I'll just say mad respect for people that manage sales organizations. I had a small call floor at one point in my life. Not an easy thing to do. David's clearly great at it. He's personally closed over $35 million in sales, average deal size in excess of $150,000. So if you're out there struggling to sell your $1,000 widget, here's a guy that regularly sells multiple six-figure widgets. And we're excited to hear about that. David, welcome to Millionaire Secrets.
Oh man, it's good to be here, Jeff. Thank you so much. You have done a wonderful job with the intro. I need to hire you. So.
Well, thank you. But sadly, I'm not for hire. And I hope I didn't just totally insult your business by saying that you sell widgets.
No, man. I think we do tend to focus on the technology-enabled services, if you will.
Right.
So, if there's anything I learned is that I've done this 13 times. Some of them were atrocious. Some of them were good. And this one I hope is the best one. And what I have learned is niche is the keyword, that focus there. So B2B services firms with a tech flavor that are founder-led sales up to the six figures, like in the mid six figures. And we want to help you scale and grow into the mid sevens. That's what we do,
Cool.
And I think that focus is really what has been important for, the growth of this business. People told me to focus 15 years ago. I didn't. I had 7 different businesses at the same time. All of them were bad, so I have learned that was a good advice that I should have followed. So I shall preach that advice to the audience. Focus on one thing and be awesome at it, and super, super, super niche down to what you really, really do.
All right. So folks, that's it. We've had a great episode of Millionaire Secrets. David Ledge just gave us the key to the universe. So we're done, right?
No. It's good to be here. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. That was great. But let's back up. Before you knew that, you mentioned some failures. Let's even back up pre-failure and talk about how you came to be in this world as an adult. How did you always know you wanted to be entrepreneurial? Did you always know you wanted to be in sales? How'd you get here?
Neither of those things. So I graduated college in 99. It was the boom sort of, tech, internet explosion, and everybody was going to be a consultant and we were going to make a ton of money. Like 40% of my class went to work for the big 4 consulting firms.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like the thing. That's what you do. I'm going to be a partner when I'm 30. I'm going to make $1 million, man, it was ridiculous, and for a little bit, I got to experience the hysteria of this, $20,000 bar bills and stupid, just insane internet stuff that didn't last very long before it all exploded, and we all got laid off. So, 9/11, Arthur crashed, Enron and the tech bubble all popped at the same time, and it was like game over. And so that was done. And I learned that by watching the people who were the partners and the people like 5 years ahead of me, I'm like, this life sucks. Like, I don't want to do this, So I'm glad that I got my Fortune 500, check the box for my resume stuff. I think the name dropping has always been helpful, that I did my work there. And I learned a lot about technology. I learned how to code. I was an awesome coder. That's what I did. So as far as I know, there's not a lot of people that go from like being a coder to being, sales guy. But I did, and I'm glad that I did. But the path was very much circuitous. So you didn't, in 99, even, you didn't, unless you were Silicon Valley, you kind of didn't have this idea that you could go be an entrepreneur. I don't think really people thought about that as much. There were people that started businesses, but it was foreign, and it was crazy to even think like I could work for myself. Like, what would that look like? We take for granted all the tooling and the available stuff now. I mean, you can spin up a website and, all the SaaS tools and all that, like none of that existed. It was a lot harder to start a business, particularly in technology, because you had server infrastructure and all kinds of stuff like that. So anyway, I made my way through a bunch of different internet types of businesses, and eventually I did decide to go do my own thing. And I decided to move to a different city where we knew nobody, with some partners, and just start a business and spin up and, kind of hang up our shingle. And that was crazy, at the time. I mean, now looking back, you can just go like, dude, what, you're out of your mind. Like, nobody, you're going to move to a city, start a business, and your business wasn't even that good. And you just thought like, hey, if I make a website in 2007, which like nobody cared, like Twitter wasn't even barely a thing, and it was just dumb. But I'm glad we did it. I ended up in a new city, and I met a lot of people, and we got blasted when the economy went down in 2009. So the neat thing is now I'm on my third 100-year cycle of, is like, this is supposed to be the worst economic downturn in 100 years. Like, this is my third one in a 20 something year career. So I figure, maybe it's every 10 years that it goes and not every 100 years. But my path to sales was just like, oh, I started companies and I hired like 8 people, and it turns out you need money to pay them. So I started having to go out and try to sell things. And at first I was awful at it, but then I learned, and I kept just sort of going, well, I don't know, let me take this on, let me take that on, try to just keep pushing myself forward. And ultimately I ended up sort of in a VP of sales type of position for a startup. And I kept doing that, and it was B2B tech and services. And I did it again, and I did it again. And it was several times doing that path from 6 figures to mid 7s before I would kind of outlive my usefulness. And by nature of that experience, that was a playbook that I could bring with me. And I said, well, let's make a business about that, because the one thing that you can tell from these folks is they can't afford to hire a VP of sales, and they shouldn't at $500,000 of services sales. You should do that at 5 million. And that nice convenient space between 500 and 5 million was an order of magnitude that we called add 10. And there's a lot of work that needs to happen in there. Scale that business up, get it ready to really have its own sales organization, and along the way, participate in that growth. And so that seemed like common sense to us, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of people to do that. And I guess I'm glad, because that's good for us, and we can get clients. So
yeah. And so that's so interesting. As a technicality, when you talk about the sales numbers, are you talking monthly sales or annual sales?
That's annual. We work with small companies.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, $5 million a month tech company would be.
That would be cool. Yeah.
That's a company that's got their own in-house sales, most likely.
Yeah, I think so. And it should. Exactly right. Like you got to that run rate where you're talking about, $500,000 a month. Like, you should build your own thing or go somewhere. Like, that's not what we do, but I want to get you to that point, because there's a hell of a distance between 500 and 5 million.
Yeah.
Now, you want to go 5 to 50, right? That's a huge deal. Different. I don't do that.
Right.
Go hire your person. Right. So,
yeah. And it's just a little context. I don't want to like name names here, but I have such an intimate experience with what you're describing. So in the fall of 2018, I sold my agency. I had a digital agency. We had a couple thousand small business clients on a continuity services. And it was very attractive for a software company because they could migrate, essentially deliver the same, what we were delivering as a service, they could deliver through SaaS. And so to migrate the subscriptions over, suddenly the subscriptions are worth 10 times as much because now they're software subscriptions, not service subscriptions. So we got a decent multiple on our book of business for the agency. I sold the agency and that's when I started Antra, and I do what I do now. But man, one of the terms of the deal was, because I had built my agency through a phone sales model. I had, about 25 sales guys in the office that I managed, I scripted, I held accountable. I eventually we hired a manager, but for a while I did the meetings when they were struggling and they were boohooing and acting like, the world was against them. I would get on the phone and close the sale just to show them how it's done. And so I know, how to manage at least a medium-sized sales team. And then I sold it to this software company, and these guys, they didn't know their ass from a hole in the ground when it came to sales. At least because they just gotten funded.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And the guys that got brought in on the back of the funding, they're the guys that didn't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They were plucking talent from all these other tech companies and trying to cobble together this perfect team. And it was a bunch of like, managers and no doers.
Yep.
And so the owner kind of knew that. So when I sold the agency, they put in the contract for me to come in and do some sales consulting for them.
Yeah. Do the old workout. Yep.
And it was everything you're describing. It was guys trying to go from $100,000 a month in sales to $1 million, let's say. And they should have hired you.
Well, I wish I was around, but I could have saved you from your fate.
But I know the intricacies and the difficulties of getting from that, that team that like one guy can reasonably manage to a team that requires systemic management.
Yeah, we want to
systematize management, and it just they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, we live down funnel. We want to close deals, so I was always against this idea. I mean, I did this for a long time, but I was against the idea with this company that I don't want to sell consulting. I don't want to sell coaching. I don't want to teach the founder how to sell better. I want to work with the founders who want to get out of the seat. And I want to come in and actually, myself and the closers like me and our team of ops and rev ops people, like build revenue systems and close deals, like legitimately get on calls and close more revenue. So I had this idea that like, I don't want to charge people money for anything except making them more money. And we got to do some consulting and advisory around the edges, but like, I don't want to do that anymore. And there's a proliferation of consulting, VP of sales consultants and coaches, and, God bless you. If you want to become a better salesperson as a founder, and that is your goal to sit in the sales seat, then you should hire one of those folks. If you're going to get out of that seat, you got it as far as you can get it. Now you want to go be a CEO and do everything else. That's where we want to live. So like we don't teach people how to be better sales folks and get paid, $5,000 a month to show up once in a while and be a consultant. I just don't believe that's a thing. We want to close you more deals, and we want to help you grow based on your own revenue, and do it as efficiently as possible and build all the systems and the tool chains and the workflows. It's 80% ops.
Yeah.
We sit there and make deals. Right. So,
and the problem with it too is I don't care, what you've done in your past. You walk into a new sales organization, start trying to tell a bunch of sales guys what they need to do. If they've never seen you close a sale, they don't give a crap what you say.
That's true. Yeah. It's dog eat dog. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they don't respect you, man. It's like walking, it's like, you or me walking onto a NBA basketball court and trying to tell the players, no, you need to stand over there. They're like, show me something, dude. Go dunk a basketball before I listen to you. Right. And they're like, well, I can't, I'm scared.
Right. It's the same thing happens with like high-end marketing types. So we always have to prove ourselves out to the marketers. So the marketers are always like, oh, we're bringing great leads and, this and that. And sometimes they are. And I say, look, we need more meetings, and we need meetings with the right people. And I will prove to you when somebody is the wrong person, because I record everything, and we're going to record all the objections. And I'm going to show you exactly where this falls off the train. So it's really about data and it's kind of agile in nature. We really are trying to be super, super lean, the same way you would test out a product or A/B split test. That's what we're doing with sales. Let's figure out exactly what works and exactly who the right people are to talk to, track all the objections and the questions, feed that information back up to marketing, try to make it more of like a living iterative system. It isn't about the all-star sales closer. It's about the right offers and the right leads.
I'm glad you said it's 80% operations. I want to sort of speak to the audience here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If they're listening to this conversation, he's talking about sales. I'm not into that.
Right.
Bullshit. If you're not into sales, you're not into making money. You're not into having a viable business. If you're thinking I'm not into that, fine, leave the podcast. Never come back, because you do not like money. So you don't need to listen to Millionaire Secrets, or get over it and tune in, because we're about to start talking about sales, and it is the beating heart of the business you want in your life.
Amen. Amen. Bow down to Jeff Lerner. That's so right.
Bow down to David Ledge, man. You're closing $150,000 deals.
I saw on your thing, you said 50 million of sales. So, I mean, there you go.
I hate to say it, but we might be up over 60 now, but
who's counting, right? So.
Yeah. It gets,
I do like large ticket size though. So, I think that's important. And
it's hard to get to 35 or 60 million selling $50,
sure is,
Girl Scout cookie bundles or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, hey, if that's where you get your start though, go sell those cookies. I respect those kids that are selling.
Those skills will take you a long way.
I mean, how many of those, like the really legit, old school entrepreneur seller types did you hear about that went door to door selling knives, encyclopedias, vacuums, like you name it, getting doors slammed in their face? The one thing I'll tell you, like, I wish that we still had is that kind of experience, because learning how to eat those no's and come back for more, I wish that I knew that earlier. I think I could have made a lot more money. So, mad props to those folks that,
I live in Utah and I'm not Mormon, but I know a lot of people who are, and at 18, they trucked off to foreign countries and tried to sell religion.
No joke. Yeah.
And in many cases successfully sold religion door to door for 2 years. And that's why Utah is the ultimate recruiting ground for both door to door and, phone-based sales organizations, because they got a group of hundreds of thousands of young people here that literally, you talk about getting a door slammed in your face.
Literally.
You knock on the wrong door talking about, an update to the Bible. Whatever. I don't want to go into it, but
I know, you're so right. I mean,
you can imagine some of those conversations.
I personally always engage the folks who come to the door, but I imagine that they may have taken some interesting attitudes.
But here's the thing. They're amazing, and they write their ticket after that experience in sales. I know there's such a resistance to sales, and here's the thing. Resisting sales is like resisting love. Like, you don't want love. What? Oh, you don't want to have, in spirited, engaging conversations with people that ultimately build to an alignment of belief that create an energy and a resonance towards a mutually agreeable decision and commitment that leads to a positive outcome. You're not into all that? Oh, what? So you don't want to get married? You don't want to have a future? You don't want to be...
I want to write all that down.
Sex? You're not into any of that. Okay, cool. Great. Bail on sales. Makes sense.
Man, you're so right. I just think it's a bunch of great conversations. I don't really have trouble with that. And I almost feel like I'm not trying to sell anybody on something they shouldn't do. And maybe it's about what you choose to represent. So we only do business with businesses that I really want to sell what they do. It aligns with our values. It actually makes people's lives better. So there's nothing better than getting on a call and saying to somebody, look, honestly, for real, it makes no difference to me if you buy this. It will make no personal difference in my life. However, I am so confident that this will make you and your business better, that if you get off this call and don't do this thing, it'll be your loss. It won't be mine. And I don't have commission breath. I don't care if you buy this thing, because the next call will. So let's get to the quick no, but you're screwing yourself if you don't do this, because I know we're right. And that's just a very validating position to be in, that this thing is valuable and the world's going to get better when we put it in play. And frankly, we've had some clients where I thought that would be the case and we just couldn't make traction. And I started to learn like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. And, let me stop taking your money now. I cannot help you grow your business. And so we will definitely fire ourselves if that's the case. It's only happened once so far, but I'm hyper vigilant about that. If I don't want to take your money if we're not making you more money.
When you started, so you mentioned being a coder, transferring to sales. When was that? About what year?
So I went coder from 99 to about 2005. I started being an operator, so like a COO type of thing there, where I worked for the sales organization implementing things that they sold. And that was a really valuable experience to be on the production side. I then became a founder where I wanted to be a practitioner, realized that I was the only one who was going to sell because I was the CEO. And that was sort of the path to doing sales thing. But I will say that sort of 3-year stop in the operator role made me have a lot of respect for particularly selling services, because you should not do the stupid sales thing where like everybody's worried that you're going to go out and try to sell any deal you can get, even if it's impossible. And I was able to work closely with salespeople and understand what it's like to be on the implementer and deliverer side for when people would just like randomly make things up and sell them. And I think that was bad, so I liked that stop. In fact, I really I resonate with being an operator. I'm just not as good at it as I'd like. So, I would have stopped in the COO role if I was actually able to pull it off, but it turns out I'm not very organized. So God bless my partner. She actually does that part.
Well, it's funny, you mentioned again, massive value nugget here, either selling the wrong thing or selling the right or wrong thing to the wrong client,
or at the right time or wrong time,
or the wrong time, or even selling the right thing to the right client, but with the wrong expectation set. Like these are all recipes for operational disaster, which, a big part of my audience here is either established business owners, or startup entrepreneurs, or people that are thinking, hey, should I start a thing to maybe work my way out of my job? Like, listen, if you're going to have to live with the consequences of the sales, of the transactions, heed this message.
Yes.
Yeah. And it usually comes out of desperation.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, like when you are so desperate to make that sale, that the 1 or 2 sales to the clients that will actually get you out of your, corporate desk job, and you're growing your side hustle, and you are willing to take, almost anybody with money, and you will twist yourself into like pretzel loops to make sure that we could totally do that. We'll expand our services for this and that, and we'll make custom scope, and, we'll do anything you want because like you actually have money. Just know that those clients are very, very hard to deliver, and they're ultimately going to suck your life out. Oh. So, try to focus and bring in an anchor client that doesn't suck. Because
listen, even if it takes a year.
Yes. Just do it. Like I am so grateful for, our business had a client that I picked up as a first consulting client right out of having left my previous work. And to this day, they're our biggest client. We've made them grow a ton, made them lots of money, but they still get the most favored nation pricing. Like they're way under rate card. And I'm just grateful to those guys who gave us a chance and listened to my pitch, and then, sort of gave us that time. And we've done a really good job. But I mean, it could have been like, they kind of took a chance on this new business and we built it on the back of that contract. And I'm still grateful for those relationships, and to see them double, triple in size and, make millions of dollars based on what we do. That's very rewarding. And I'm grateful that they gave us a chance to prove it, because we got a lot of our core metrics out of that. And I said, okay, cool. I can add a 0. This is not total BS. I imagined that we could, and I was pretty sure we could, but we really did. And now here's somebody who will vouch for it.
So, and yeah, it's funny, man, those early clients, we have a few. I've had a few in every business. I mean, every business has them. And yeah, you never forget them. They're always kind of like it's like an old high school girlfriend or something that you always have that special feeling about. But
You have those, and then you have the ones that give you PTSD. And like when your phone rings and that name comes up, like pay attention to that.
Yeah, those are the sales you shouldn't have made, right?
Yeah, those are the ones that you should fire right there.
So I'm curious, especially because, and just, again, from my point of view, people, I get this question all the time because I'm pretty visible online now. And so I get a lot of people, just random messages from people like, hey, what should the question of like, what should I do? And I'm like, I know nothing about you. Give me more context. Right. And it usually comes down to like, I want money, but I don't have money. Mm-hmm. So like, and I think it takes money to make money. I've heard my dad told me that once upon a time. So now I'm going to live the rest of my life with that as an excuse.
It's a hell of a lot easier when you have some money to start with.
It is. And here's the thing, you got to have something to exchange. And for most people, the most exchangeable thing is money. You want a car, you exchange money for it.
It's the most liquid thing.
Yeah, it's the most liquid, and it's the most, the value is defined based literally on like rates of exchange. But there's other things you can exchange for assets and value and consulting and insight and whatever.
I mean, really, it's like, your experience and your time.
But you got to have something to offer.
Yeah.
And usually when people say I have no money, I say, well, do you have anything else of value? And if they say, well, no, well, you got a problem, right? Like, let's go learn a foreign language. Let's learn to code. Let's, take a class on, I don't know, basket weaving. Like, you got to have a skill or something. And, but everybody, I mean, I'm being overly.
You can trade on your network. Value. You can trade on like, do something. I mean, learn how to try to sell something. But
learn how to do basic bookkeeping.
Yeah. I mean,
go find a disorganized business owner that needs help. Like, do something.
Yeah. I mean, just get minimum wage from somebody that you can help. Everybody who wants to do a startup, go find a founder and like legitimately work hard for that founder so you can experience what that looks like, because it's not all glamorous starting a business. There's a lot of beatdown. And I always say it's like the second hardest thing I ever did, first thing being parenting. So if you don't have any, I called my kids organic startups. If you don't have any organic startups, then, like the next hardest thing you can do is start a business. But that's man.
Funny. I'm going to tell my wife about that when I get home. Organic. You're like, babe, you think I'm a successful founder. You're a 4-time successful founder.
Right. Exactly. And you pay dearly for it. I'm going to keep talking about the ROI. So I hope that comes back. But, so anyway, what was I saying? So yes, you need some medium of exchange. I will say though, that like what I would advise people there, and again, I'm on the services side. So I do work with a lot of consultants and, professional service providers and agency owners and things like that. So it's not just straight technology or info products. It's, some kind of hourly or knowledge management transfer. Think about the things that you take for granted that you think are like, that you do that are almost like to you. It's like, why doesn't everybody do this? Like the thing that comes easy to you and you go like, this is brain dead. I can't sell that because everybody just does that. Look for that thing, because chances are that's the thing that everybody doesn't do. And you just take it for granted because it's so easy for you. Mm-hmm. And so that, I think, like, to me, our business is like, duh, of course you should do that. That's the way it should be. And then I was like, wait, nobody does that? And like, people think that's unique and novel and innovative, and we know how to do a thing that you don't. And that was the thing I took for granted. And I wonder if that's not the case for, every sort of knowledge-based work. You've got to be good at something. I mean, you're living, breathing. You're not like a total waste of space, right? I mean, you must have done something to get this far. So, maybe you detail cars. Maybe you're like, what's a hobby? There's got to be something that you do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give an example. I've got there's a woman in our inner circle masterminds that I work, here in Antra. We have a high-end mastermind, which I can actually work directly with people, which I love. Yeah. And she's building out she has amazing vision. She's still building it out for curriculum and support and a community around homeschooling.
Yeah.
She homeschooled her. I think she had 5 kids. She homeschooled, and now they're older. And she's like, well, yeah, I homeschool my kids. I love my kids, and I taught them. And I'm like, when we helped her, and she already had the vision, but we really did the research to validate. Like, there is a huge, especially post COVID.
Yeah, right. That was timely.
But she was thinking it even pre-COVID. Huge demand in the market for what seems like a very specialized thing that for her was like extremely run of the mill.
And how, I mean, be specialized, like even it's not that specialized now, but you know, like, I mean, it's still different. And like, if you get 10 clients that pay you 50 grand a year, or, you know, like be specialized, be nichey.
Yeah.
Be very clear about what you don't do so that you only take on the ones that you'll make the most money from, and be selective. That's that focus.
And it's interesting, you know, when you start thinking about like niche science and, you know, avatar definition and getting specific, you can take anything and parse it into multiple specializations. So like take homeschooling, for example. You could have, I specialize in homeschooling kids that have been enrolled in school up through at least elementary school. Absolutely. And now they're 13, they're 12 or older, and you want to bring them home. I specialize in that situation.
Yeah. And that's,
or I specialize in homeschooling, you know, kids on the spectrum, or I specialize in homeschooling, you know, I specialize in how to homeschool a teen who's had a kid who's trying not to fall out of their education, but has, you know, now has a kid requirement. There's like so many permutations.
And that niche like makes you immediately stand out because you specialize in something. Now, if I'm the consuming person and I find you, I go, that's me. Yeah. But if I'm just like, oh, I'm a homeschool, you know, coach, consultant, I help families who want to homeschool. Well, it doesn't hook me because
it's pretty big. You got to have a hook.
It could be anything. And so don't sell to everybody, sell to a tiny little thing. And I know as an entrepreneur, you get scared like, oh, but I'll turn away potential revenue that I actually could serve. Not really, because people maybe will come to you anyway and say, hey, would you make an exception for an interesting family like mine? I've got 5 adopted kids. And you go, yeah, I could totally handle that. Right. But like, you don't have to hang out your advertising in that way.
Yeah. And plus in that scenario, it's a lot more, you know, you've got some reciprocity built into simply taking the deal. So they're going to be a lot more tolerant of the fact that they're not a perfect fit.
Oh, that's good too. Yeah, absolutely. Reciprocity is without question my favorite business psychological trigger. I love that Cialdini. You know, I'll put that into everything, man. That's a huge part of our business right now. So
it's funny you mentioned, God, so many good nuggets here. You mentioned, you know, influence and persuasion are the two.
I love those books, man.
Cialdini books that I've read. Yeah. So when I started Antra, the business I have now, I was doing 2 things at once. One, I wanted to take everything I'd already done and everything I already knew, and like you said, package what I knew into an opportunity for a large number of people that were, you know, assumably wanted it. But the other thing I wanted to do was prove out some stuff that I didn't know, but that I knew I could learn because I knew it was important, which was like how to, you know, grow social media influence, how to build an authority brand. Because I'd made a lot of money online, but I wasn't like a visible guy online until 2 years ago. So I wanted to show, here's how you grow a YouTube channel. Here's how you grow Instagram. Here's how you connect on Facebook and grow a group and all this new stuff that was new for me. So the first thing I did was, when was this? This was spring of 2018. I hadn't even sold the agency yet. I read Influence 6 times in a row because I was like, I don't want to, you know, I read a lot of books. I mean, I've got a shelf. I've read all those books. Ask me what's on page 71 of any of them, and I can't tell you. But I was like, if I read instead of reading one book and then the next, I feel like a lot of times with reading, do you read a lot? I'm guessing you do.
I consume a lot of audio books because I have a lot of car time. So I tend to, you know, be able to capture them. I'd rather read if I could sit and do that. But so I listen to audiobooks too. Yeah.
I honestly consider them. I mean, depending on what type of learner you are, one can be better. I mean, some people that should not read, they should just listen to the audios because that's how they learn. They're auditory learners. But anyway, to my point, you know, sometimes I feel like reading books becomes a little bit of like an ego thing. Like I read 47 books this year or something. And so I started by going, what is the one book that I could read that if I could literally know everything that the author knows, if I could like get in his brain or get his brain in my head, I would be much more powerful. And it was that book. It was Influence by Cialdini. So instead of reading 6 books, I read one book 6 times, like with a highlighter and with a pen and taking notes and like rereading paragraphs over and over until I felt like they were etched in stone. And it is literally half the reason that Antra's scaled and my brand has scaled as fast as it is, because that was the foundation. It's funny you mentioned his name.
I think it would be that one, or it would be Carnegie, like How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh yeah, I've got that over here too.
I mean, everybody got that one too, you know? So, and there's that one. And like, if you really want to get deep and sort of like ethereal, Think and Grow Rich would be another one.
Yeah, I got that one too.
I'm sure you got that one too.
I got the 7 Habits over here. Yeah, all the staples, man.
I saw this motivational speaker one time, and his shtick was that he had read Carnegie's book like 62 times and he knew it better than anybody in the world. Like, that's kind of smart.
It is. No, it was so powerful.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to this day, like social proof, reciprocity, liking, authority, commitment. I think about commitment and consistency every day. Like those principles now are so etched in my brain.
Right.
Because of that one phase in 3 months where I read the book 6 times.
I think you're so right. Yeah. I mean, I know that I've gone over those principles, you know, sort of over and over again. And it makes a tremendous amount of sense every time I go back to it from a sales standpoint.
From sales. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about sales. Like I even today, my partners and I, we had a contest between us. We're trying to rewrite our video sales letter to increase conversions. And the 3 of us were all going to do it. And whoever wins, the company's going to buy a Rolex, and whoever's VSL wins gets to wear the Rolex. But then if somebody else beats you, we have to send them the Rolex. So it's like a title belt. And so I took about 2 hours today. I had a window of time, and I banged out the majority of a really good sales. I mean, I know it's good. The reason I know it's good is because every word, I'm like reciprocity, social proof, liking, authority. And then, you know, also just general concepts of tone and language. But you know, it's just like sales. I mean, whether it's sales through written word or sales through spoken word, it's a learned behavior. So let me ask you, you say that, well, I realized I needed to pay people, so I needed to bring in some money. What did you do? I'm assuming you didn't just dive into selling, get on the phone. I mean, did you like learn? Did you read? Did you go to a seminar? What did you do to actually learn to sell? And maybe you did jump in, but that's cool too.
I did just jump in, and I was horrible.
Oh, okay.
And then I was enough of a student to just be like, what just happened? Like every time I go on these meetings, like I can't get anything to happen. And, you know, then I think what taught me a little bit better about selling was having to do a lot of written work. So I actually did these long, RFP responses for like government work and technology projects and stuff. And I had to write like 400-page responses describing our solution and all that stuff. And I think that really ended up solidifying that, language was important. And then I started thinking about copywriting, and then I learned about direct response and long form sales letters. And I think that's a good place to start. Copywriting is huge. Being you first focused, you know, don't write about me, write about you, the consumer, you know, what's the value-based reality of that solution? You know, that was huge. So I think it's Jeff Walker, right? Launch, like that book was really good.
PLF, product launch formula.
Yeah. You know, he was sort of like the original, I guess, you know, sort of online guru type of guy. And I met a friend of mine, who does direct response marketing. And it was new to me in the startup space. People don't teach entrepreneurs, you know, all that, the direct response writing and copywriting. And I think
which
that's
is
missing.
Craziness, by the way, that they don't.
It is. It's completely insane. I ran a startup accelerator where we did lean startup and, you know, all these things, long curriculum and teaching people how to pitch and all this stuff. I mean, nothing about sales or direct response writing or revenue. And it was just bizarre, you know, and I felt like that was a huge missing element. But
because here's the thing, the tech startup space, they're such product enthusiasts. They're so romantically involved with their product and their solution. They think it's basically supposed to sell themselves. They shouldn't have to use any, you know, clever language.
Yeah, they call that the base camp fallacy. if you build a thing that's good enough, people will just sign up for it. And, and once in a while, I guess that works, it's kind of like Field of Dreams, but, yeah, I don't know why, I guess the self-serve, MRR model is so compelling, so that's what you want to make VC, right? So maybe that zeitgeist is sort of just part of the gym, but I mean, 99.9% of the time, you're going to have to get on a call and actually sell something to somebody. And it's very hard to scale a technology business in B2B, at least, without at least having some kind of human implementation set up, onboarding, customer success, whatever. You're just not going to sell $100,000 thing without a lot of people stuff.
Right.
And that takes people selling, as well. So God bless you if you have a thing that is really self-serve and people can sign up for it and you got 1 million users paying you $10 a month. I mean, that's just not the world I live in. That's amazing. And I'm proud of you. But it's not as easy as people.
Well, but
think,
let's call it like it is. That if you're aspiring to live in that world, it's probably not the world you're going to end up living in. Those are very, very, very
super
few
rare
and far between.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen, and you need a tremendous amount of,
and they're not built
input.
to last, honestly, in my opinion, because
I don't know if anybody wants them to last. I think they're built to sell. They're maybe built to with the dream of exit. It's just if my only business plan is just amounting users and just get people to buy my thing or acquire my company. That's a reasonable strategy, except that it's still rare, and people aren't gonna necessarily do that. I mean, I just saw Twitter bought one of those large agencies, where they acquire the whole thing to do, product work. And I mean, how many thousands of agencies are there that are not going to get acquired by Twitter?
Right.
And, so just get real about, what you're doing. And I also think if you build the company that you actually want to keep, you have a better chance of selling it later because it's actually going to be something that you care about. So, people ask us about our exit plan, and I just think that's funny because I don't want to exit. I want to just build and grow my thing. And by nature of not caring about that story, we made a lot more money, and I think that's interesting because I've done the whole, VC backed startup and hyper growth and work 70 hours a week and your options end up being worth nothing. And I'm not going to do that again.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about that. That's cool. I like that you said, if you don't build if you build the company you want to keep, it'll be more valuable if and when you decide to sell. For people that have never been through that, I've been in the room on a couple of those conversations, and, the number one thing that the capital guys, maybe not so much when you're in early growth stage, but when it's a going concern, they really want to know, what's the story? What's the brand?
Mm-hmm.
What's the intrinsic value? They only want to look at the financials if they like the story. And if your story is, oh, I built this to sell, even if you don't say that, it's still there if it's true.
Yeah. I mean, you probably talk to a bunch of, aspiring entrepreneurs yeah, I'm going to sell to Facebook. That's my whole plan. That's all I want to do. Or Google's going to buy me. And
right.
And I'm just no, they're not, and even if they were, they probably aren't, because that's your only plan. They want to buy you because you add intrinsic value, or you have you add some strategic value to an asset that they already have, or, something like that. So it just takes bigger thinking. And I regret that we have this startup mythology of, the social network. And, so we sort of heap all this praise on the 0.00001% that, I mean, Elon's amazing. I think Elon Musk has pulled off some crazy stuff, and that's so cool, but you just can't do that. You can't be Peter Thiel when you grow up. He just is. They did some amazing things at some point in time.
And he's a snapshot. Yeah. I mean, it existed. It was a window. It's not the same window now. It's it's like wanting to be Thomas Edison or something.
Right. Yeah. Let's all learn from that. I think the books are interesting, so 0 to 1 and The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And we should take lessons from each of those, but it's not realistic, for everybody. It happened at a particular pond, it just grew in an ecosystem. It maybe isn't going to happen, if you live in the middle of Ohio, you don't have the resources that those folks had at that exact point in history. So, but there are business lessons to be learned, no matter what, the fundamental things. If you're going to mythologize any founders, sort of spend time and collect a whole lot of stories from founders so that you can pull out the common elements.
Yeah. And study, as much as you study like Mark Zuckerberg, study like Sam Walton, who spent 10 years crisscrossing middle America in his brother's airplane, studying, highway patterns and learning about small towns and doing a lot of analog stuff, because that's actually a lot more relevant to like starting a business today than what was it like to live with 19-year-olds in Palo Alto and live off ramen for 2 years. Like, I don't know about you, but I got 4 kids. So.
Yeah, it's not realistic. I work with a lot of folks that, are single and do the whole, sort of I'm a digital nomad and, I'm a subcontractor and I can do whatever I want and work from Bali. And, I like to say my life choices have precluded that option for me, and it's cool. I'm glad people can do that. But yeah, definitely take it on from a realistic standpoint. There's nothing wrong with those things, but if that's not really what you're able to do, don't build your business vision around it. So.
I might offend some segment of my audience by saying this, but the older you are, the more that what you just described just sounds like defeat. If you're 57 years old and you're like, I never married, I just live on a beach in Bali and I manage Facebook ads for overseas clients. I have to get up at 3 a.m. every now and then to meet them on a call. Like, dude, you just sound like you gave up. Like, I might sound like a jerk. I don't judge people's life choices, but like, is that really the life that most founders are aspiring to?
I don't know that that's even, I don't know what life that is. It's not mine. And if people can look in the mirror and say they're happy doing that, then, that's fine with me. But, and if you're good at managing ads, hey, give me a shout because we need you sometimes. But, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just about the realistic picture of a lifestyle business that's actually legitimate for, your life stage. And when you are doing that side hustle type of thing, it's far more likely that you're going to be in the lifestyle business type of zone. So build something that you can, set yourself up a little bit that you can back off, make some residual, income from. And I think that's okay. Like, we don't have to all build billion-dollar businesses. And I don't aspire to that anymore. At one point I did, and it's ungratifying to work 80 hours a week. I would rather be a good father and, take care of my life and work, my 40 hours and kind of, go home, which these days is just walk into the kitchen. So.
Yeah. And here's the thing, the idea, entrepreneurs are people that'll work 80 hours a week. So they never have to settle for working 40 hours or whatever the whole silly adage is, which like I get. I mean, right now I'll own it. I'm in a hyper growth phase. 2 years into starting a company, we scaled 3,000% in the last 13 months. Part of it's because I've been working 80 hours a week. It just is what it is. But like, I chose that. My family knew what I was choosing. I get up really early, so I still get the work done and I still see my kids. But yeah, I mean, to your point, the idea of like, oh, you want more money, you want a bigger success, trade more time. That's actually the opposite of entrepreneurship. It should be acquire more leverage.
Yeah. I think of it as like
a managing partner of a managed sales organization. You can, in 40 hours a week, if you want more money, you can go acquire a bigger client, not work 10 more hours.
Yeah. I want to find the right client because we get paid, a slice of sales, right? So if I can just sell MRR tickets that are very high, we get paid on that, kind of indefinitely. So I make a cash flow stream out of it. Mm-hmm. So we have to be really selective about how we spend our time because it's a tremendous lift. I mean, we're building revenue operations and entire sales divisions from nothing, and we do all the work. So yeah, we want to get paid on the backside of that. But I think leveraged is systems building. If you've never read the E-Myth, read that. That's the thing I think that really tipped me off to that I was right about knowledge management. When I worked at companies, I thought, like, why aren't we writing this stuff down? Like, why doesn't everybody, it's like everybody loses checklist X in their email over and over and over again. And I forced wikis onto companies when that wasn't even a thing, because I'm like, write this damn thing down. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why do we waste all this time? Just follow the doc next time, and let's all update the docs together. Now that's a thing. And we run our business very carefully on that. So document the hell out of it and make sure that somebody, cheaper than you can do it, and do it on repeat so that you can move up and scale your business. So it's nice to see those principles pay off. The best thing as an entrepreneur, I remember each of the moments where I realized that, I was able to take a break and, I don't know, work out, drink a beer, hang out, and somebody was working and making me money. And those are times that I can literally remember having that realization, like, wow, like, that's cool. Somebody else is making me money right now and I'm not working. So I hope everybody aspires to that moment.
Yeah. Cause I mean, listen, every single person on earth, well, every single person who works is either that guy or they're you.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah,
there's a more crude way of saying that I won't repeat, but like,
you're the windshield or you're the bug. How about that?
Yeah, that one works. Yeah, exactly. Mine was far worse than that,
but
but no, I mean, you say, why should I be an entrepreneur? You just nailed it. Do you want to be the guy getting paid from someone else's work, or do you want to be the guy working to pay someone else?
Yeah, I wonder about, these gigantic organizations, and that somebody started those in a garage too.
I know, it's crazy.
Isn't that crazy, right? Somebody that has 250,000 employees and, $100 billion of revenue, and they started in their garage.
At one point, it was one guy registering an LLC.
Yeah, and we're all the same way. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to put the strain and work into it. But in that sense, we are all the same, just like we were all born with nothing, and it is the leverage that you create. We all get 24 hours in the day. I like to bootstrap businesses and start with zero. I mean, we talked about, like, sort of how money makes money. It's fun to start from nothing. It's a beatdown. I mean, it's a hell of a lot easier to start a business with 20, 50 grand in the bank, but it's also kind of cool when you turn, $4 grand into 400,000. So,
I mean, I started Antra. I didn't have nothing, but I spent nothing.
Right. Bootstrapping is
frankly,
cool.
I had just gotten screwed. That exit I talked about, I kind of got screwed on the deal. I ended up getting cut out of half the payment.
That happens, man.
And
a lot, right?
Honestly, because the company wouldn't listen to me when I told them how to fix their sales. And so they went out of business before they could finish paying me.
Isn't that a trip? Yeah.
But on the heels of that, I wasn't about to tell my wife, hey, babe, don't worry, I'm going to take our money and go start a new thing. I was like, listen, I got a new thing, but I'm going to lean startup myself. And I started just with content. It was 11 months before I sold anything. But I literally, our company, we have a 150 person team now. And 2 years ago, it was me posting Facebook videos. So, like, hear that, world.
That's a lot of skill. Yeah, that's good. I don't scale that fast. Yeah, and we take it point by point by point. And, I tell you, when you're spending your money on hiring people, you are really careful about hiring. And that's for sure. You get the right people in the right time and the right skills, and accumulating team members is a totally different discipline than, I was ever used to. So I think my last step will be figuring out, like, if there's ever an equation to really nail hiring, because man, if you get that right, you got it. So.
Yeah, we actually just brought in, we're getting big enough. We needed major HR support, and we just brought in the last quarter of last year. It's been 3 or 4 months. And man, structuring panel style interviews and framing how you can ask questions without opening yourself up to discrimination claims and, employment legalities. And,
right.
I'll share one little tidbit she gave me that I think is cool. It may be like old hat to you, but at the what is it called? SBO framework. So, like, if you want to say, like, if you want to get somebody to talk about themselves without asking them such direct questions that they can claim that you were too direct, basically.
Okay.
SBO, situation, behavior, outcome. So it's like, were you ever in a situation like X, and what did you do and what was the outcome?
Yeah,
That
sure.
framework allows you to say to someone basically like, where's your moral compass? Right.
Right.
But you're not asking somebody like, so how important is honesty to you? It's more like so you would reframe it as, were you ever in a situation where somebody, enticed you to do something unethical? How did you respond and what happened?
Right. Sure.
Because then it's just storytelling. And so it's not like personal,
And if you can't come up with an example of that, you're probably trying to lie.
Yeah. And then you watch them squirm or not. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, this is such a good conversation. Like, I have a really diverse audience. And so some of the audience is probably like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best interviews Jeff's ever had. They got really into some serious stuff about really building and scaling businesses and processes and operations and the stuff that really matters. Some people are like, maybe, and I don't mean this pejoratively, but like, wait, they didn't tell me how to make money.
Right.
Like, well, how do I make my first $5,000 on Instagram? I thought I was going to learn that. Well, first of all, I have other interviews that talk about that. This wasn't that. But also I want to say to the,
and I don't know, man, they don't put me on those. So I don't know the answer. So you should tell me too.
Well, I'm the guy that asked the questions because I'm still trying to figure it all out. But I know I've spent more than $5,000 on Instagram consultants, but no, in all seriousness, there was so much gold in this conversation. I'm just briefly reviewing, like when you said say 80% of sales is operations, like if somebody only takes that away, they can save themselves years of frustration and capped growth potential because they're trying to power sell their way through as opposed to focusing on process, just as a one thing. So I encourage, this is one I think a lot of people are going to want to re-listen to, if only to really realize how good it was. And I say that as a compliment to you, David. This has been wonderful.
Well, I appreciate that. Your kind validation makes me want to do more. And
go spend a 10th hour on Zoom today.
I did. This was my 9th hour. I totally appreciate it. I think I'm going to shut it down, for the night. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to be able to put ideas out in the universe that all came from hard-won, hard knocks. None of this is wisdom. It's just experience and recognizing how not to do it the wrong way again. So, I encourage people to, give it a try. And on add10.co, that's ADD1zero.co, there is a blog and YouTube channel there that is me talking about and writing about stuff like this. So if there's,
my last question was going to be, how can the world go get more of your insight? That's one spot. Or is there elsewhere too?
I post on LinkedIn, but it mostly just links to those things. So if you want to look at our company and just watch some more videos and do some more thinking, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, David Ledgerwood, or ledge at add10.co. We just love talking to business owners, and we have a networking group called the Expert Community that we do invite B2B founders and sort of biz dev type folks to, if you're interested in a thing like that. We just get together every 2 weeks on Zoom and facilitate conversations. And it's like a really loose kind of mastermind type of thing. We hold each other accountable, share a pitch. What about this? What about that? Share tips. So people interested in that, give us a shout, and we'd be glad to hook you up. So, and
I want to make sure tell me if I don't say this right, but if somebody is a software founder, is involved in a software company that's currently, doing a 6-figure annualized sales and wants to add a 0, you're the go-to guy right there, right?
Yeah. B2B services and tech. So anything related to, the services, businesses that are technology enabled, if you will. So professional services, SaaS, consulting agencies, things like that.
Cool. Well, thank you again, David. This has been great. I appreciate your time. I'm gonna let you end your 9th hour on Zoom and go be with your family. And I will bid farewell to the audience, all of the viewers and listeners out there. As you know, as I always say, you are the best part of this show and why I do what I do every day. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next episode. And David, thanks again. Thank you for watching Millionaire Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know whenever we release a new episode. Also, if you want to learn the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy, click the link in the description below to claim your free copy of my book, The Millionaire Shortcut. And don't forget, Millionaire Secrets is available on all the major podcast platforms as well. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you can listen on the go. Thanks for watching.